words have power because we are kings and our words matter. What is a Christian? Christian is in a relationship with God, is in fellowship with God. Now, what does that mean? It means that he interacts with God, that he goes to God, he brings his needs before God and asks and receives. God is his supplier. He lives connected with God, depending on God, receiving from God every day.
So here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God, you're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Oh, here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Here I am to worship, oh, here I am to bow, here I am to say, you're my God, you're altogether lovely, you're altogether wonderful to me. Oh, here I am to worship, here I am to bow, here I am to sing, you're my God, you're altogether altogether wonderful to me.
John 3:16 onwards. By this we know love, because he laid down his life for us, and we also ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. We've been basically looking at a lot of passages from 1 John. John is known as the apostle of love because he writes so much about love. Writes in his old age, has a lot of experience, wonderful pastor, has been with Jesus and has seen a lot and been so many years. And in the end, towards the end of his life, he writes about love so much because he understands what this love for the brethren means. So this is a very important book, really, and we're covering many passages from it in order to understand what walking in love means. We already looked at chapter 2 and chapter 3, a couple of passages there. Basically, John, in both those passages, was showing how that when we love the brethren, it becomes the proof that we are the children of God, that we are born of God. Love for the brethren is the proof that we are different, that we are children of God, born of God. Having said that, now he wants to go into the very practical side of it. That is more like theory. You know, when you went to school, they had theory as well as practicals. Some of us liked theory very much, others liked practicals very much. But schools favored both. They wanted both theory and practical, because without theory, what will you do in practicals? The practical is about the theory. And if you have only theory and no practical, then it is of no value. You will find in reading the New Testament, reading the whole Bible, really, the Bible is a very practical book. There are portions that sound very doctrinal, sound like statements of truth, and that's very important. And we, in this church, we study everything. We study these wonderful statements of truth, sound like wonderful doctrine. But we don't study doctrine for doctrine's sake, because I have found out the Bible is a very practical book. Always it comes down to the practical. Never stays with theory, always it comes down to the practical. The very purpose of the Bible is to bring it down to the practice. And so John is talking about a very important aspect of the practice of the Christian faith in terms of love. So here, in this passage, he now brings it down to very practical stuff. He's been talking about how when you love your brother, it's a proof that you're born again. That sounds more like a statement of truth, more like a theory. But now he's talking about a very practical aspect of it. Gives a wonderful example, very down-to-earth example, about a man, which one translation says in verse 17, who shuts up his bowels of compassion when a man approaches him in his need for some help. This man shuts up his bowels of compassion, one translation says. Here, in the translation that I just read to you, it says, whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him? So he gives a very practical example of a man coming to another man who has everything, asking for help. And this man literally shuts the door of his heart. Make sure he doesn't help him. Make sure that he doesn't give him anything. Make sure he doesn't do what he can very easily do, what is within his reach to do. Shuts up his bowels. He's very purposefully refraining from helping that person. He does not want to do that. And he uses that as an amazing example here. So we're going to study these three verses. It's going to take 2 weeks for us, because I'm going to talk about one little aspect of it today. But the thing is this is so important to John. That is why we also want to dwell on it a little bit. The subject of love is not theory for John. It is practical stuff. It is so important. It is very relevant. Why? Because he says, first of all, it's proof that you're born again. Therefore, it's important that you understand that. But then he says something more important in verse 19 onwards, which we'll come to later on. But I just want to read it to you and show the relevance. From verse 19 onwards, he says, by this we know. By what? By our love towards one another. We know that we are of the truth. See, once again, he uses that as a proof of everything, of our very new birth, of our Christian experience. He says, by this, that is, by this love that we show to others, we know that we are of the truth and shall assure our hearts before him. Now listen to this. For if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart and knows all things. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence toward God, and whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. And this is the commandment, that we should believe on the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he gave us commandment. What is he saying here? He says, once again, that this is proof that we are of the truth. That means we belong to the true Christian faith, that we are true Christians. And then he says, when we do this, our heart assures us. If we don't do this, if we don't love one another, then our heart condemns us. There is a problem when our heart condemns us. When our heart condemns us, it seems like we lose our confidence to go and stand before God and ask and receive. Pray, ask and receive. It affects our prayer life, our fellowship with God, our interaction with God. When you don't love one another, he says it has an impact upon your life itself. Your prayer life, your Christian life, your relationship with God, your fellowship with God is affected as a result of this lack of love, he says, because your heart condemns you. What does he mean? He means, he doesn't mean that if we do everything right, do according to the commandments, God is going to give us whatever we ask. It may sound like that, but what he means is this. We already know that all the things that God has to give, he has already given to us, already blessed us. But the problem comes in our end, the receiving end. We are the ones that by faith receive. When there is no love, when we don't live by love, when we don't walk in love, receiving gets affected because faith does not work. Faith works by love. So when you don't love, faith is affected. You're not able to operate in faith. You're not able to go to God, ask and receive what you ask. That confidence is not there. It's like a child who has done something wrong, always avoids the parents, doesn't want to come before them, goes everywhere the parents are not there, doesn't want to have anything to do with them. Anything that he has to receive, he's dependent on them. He has to receive from the parents all the money, all the resources that he needs for life. Everything gets put off and delayed because he can't go and ask them. He doesn't have the confidence because this issue is there. He has done something wrong, that issue has to be settled, right? It's like that with the believer. When the heart condemns us, our asking and receiving gets affected, he says. Our prayer life gets affected. And when that gets affected, then what's the use of being Christian? We are not talking about being Christians in the nominal sense, just being Christians for namesake. We're talking about being Christians in the real sense. What is a Christian? Christian is in a relationship with God, is in fellowship with God. Now, what does that mean? It means that he interacts with God, that he goes to God, he brings his needs before God and asks and receives. God is his supplier. He lives connected with God, depending on God, receiving from God every day his need for his spirit, soul, and body in every area of his life. That's the way the believer lives. Now, if you can't do that, if you cannot go and take your needs to God and ask and receive, pray and ask and receive, if that is not possible, then what is the use of being a Christian? Just going to church and coming. If that confidence is not there, if you're not able to go to God for everything, then that is not being a true Christian. So for John, this means that love affects our whole life. If we don't love as believers, our heart condemns us, and as a result of heart condemning us, we lose our confidence before God, so that when we ask, we don't receive because we cannot ask with faith. Our faith doesn't work, it gets blocked up. God is willing to give, God has already given, but our withdrawal is not effective because we cannot go and confidently claim the blessings of God because we feel guilty. Our heart is condemning us. Now that's a very important point, I think. That shows the relevance of this whole thing. But we'll come to that later. But look at how John puts it here, the practical application of the subject of love or loving one another. The way he puts it, it shows that the whole New Testament is like that. The whole of Bible is like that. It's a practical thing. It is always theory moving to practice, never stopping with theory. And with regard to love, it's the same. Now, let's deal with something very important here, because I want to start with verse 18. And I want to go back like from verse 18 to 17 and then 16. So I'm going to start from, usually I do it in order, 16, 17, and 18, but today I want to go reverse with a purpose, because I think you can explain it better if you do that. So in verse 18 he says, my little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. If you want to put it in the most modern way, you can put it like this. Let us not love in theory. The Amplified Bible actually translates it like that, and I got it from there. It says, let's not love just in theory. on a word level. That means just saying I love you. No. That's not love in theory, but let's practice it. Let's actually do it. He says, that's what he's saying. Let's do it with sincerity. The word sincerity is also used in the Amplified Bible. Let's not do it just in theory, but in practice. So love cannot be theoretical. It has to be practical. That's the essence of verse 18. But I want to concentrate on that fact, let us love. It says, let us not love like that. Let us not love in word or tongue, but in deed and in truth. So he's commanding us to love in deed and in truth. So let's look at that phrase, let us love. Now, since love is so important to life, and it affects the whole of our life, our Christian experience, and our whole relationship with God and fellowship with God, since it's so important and relevant that when you don't love, you can't even have the confidence to go and ask and receive from God, since that is so important. A lot of people are troubled by what John is saying here, because in verse 14 also he puts it even more powerfully, and we already considered that last week. In verse 14, he says, we know that we have passed from death to life. That means we are saved, we are born again, because we love the brethren. He who does not love his brother abides in death. So people read stuff like this and they say, what do you mean, brother, if I don't love, that means that I'm not a child of God? My God, it sounds so awful, because I can surely tell you that I have a lot of people that I really don't like. And you mean to tell me that if I don't like these people that I don't really like and can't like, does it mean that therefore I'm not able to love and therefore I'm not a child of God? So this is a very, very difficult question for a lot of people. So they ask this question. They say, tell us, what is love? What do I have to do? How can I make sure that I walk in love so that nothing is hindered, so that I can walk in the blessings of God? I can walk close to God and I can ask and receive, be confident in my relationship with God. I want to make sure that I love. So tell me, when it says, let's love in truth and sincerity, or let's love, he says, in deed and truth. What does it mean? In practice and sincerity. What does that mean? So let's talk about it. In order to understand that, we need to understand the difference between liking and loving. I want to deal with that today. It's very important. Some of you may not think that there is a difference, because these are just two little words. How big a difference can be there between these two words is what people think, But really, the difference is very profound between liking and loving. Think about it. Does it mean if you don't like someone that you can't love that person? Because we have that problem. We have a lot of people that we can't like. They are not likable. We wish they were likable. They'll make it easy for us. But they are not likable. Does that mean that we cannot love them? What does the Bible say about this? How can I make sure that I am walking in love, that I'm indeed loving them? There is a difference between liking and loving. Not an artificial difference. There is a profound difference, a real difference between the two words. So let's look at liking and then loving. First, let's look at liking. What is liking? When you like a person, what do? Think about that. Let me tell you what liking is. Liking is a natural thing, something that comes from our natural being. Let me put it like this. It's very physical. It is, let me say, very unintelligible. When I say unintelligible, that means it doesn't take a great deal of thought, deep thought, to like somebody. To like somebody, you don't have to think very deep. You don't have to be very knowledgeable, very wise, very insightful. No, you don't have to be that. To like someone is a very superficial thing. Let me put it like this. It is more like an animal instinct, what they call as animal instinct, which is also in all of us humans, a very basic, elemental, physical instinct that we all have. Just look at the animal world, you'll understand. Even an animal has certain instincts. Instinct is a kind of knowledge. Even animals have some brain, they have some knowledge. But their knowledge is on a different level. They don't think deeply. They think very superficially. And when I say they think superficially, what do I mean? I mean that they do things like this, and that's how human beings are also doing things many times when they live on that level. We all have the same animal instinct, but we are meant to go far beyond that because we are made in the image and likeness of God. We have animal instinct, but plus we have an ability to go beyond that into deeper knowledge. Now, what is this animal instinct? How does it work in human beings? It works like this. When you like a person, what do? You look at that person, you like certain qualities of that person. You like the appearance, you like certain things about them, you like certain superficial things, such as appearance, temperament, color, outward features, behavior, mannerisms, certain things that you see outside. Everything that you see outside attracts you. It's very attractive. These things on the outside of that person that you can see attracts you. Therefore, you end up liking that person. That's what liking is all about. Liking is very superficial. It's about something that you like in that person that you see. It mostly has to do with the superficial stuff. It's almost like this physical energy. It is something of a physical emanation that goes from one to another. People talk about energy, that when you see another person, you get an energy. It's that kind of a thing. You like something about that person. Sometimes you can't even tell what it is, but you like that person. It's basically superficial stuff, what you see about that person. The way he does things, the mannerisms, the behavior, the looks, and whatever, and so on. And you see cats and dogs are like that. You see a dog, dog has a very special relationship with some people in the family. In the family, there may be 10 people, but the dog will have a very special relationship with 1 or 2 people there. As soon as they come, he's very happy. He likes their presence. He begins to wag the tail and go to them, and he knows something good is going to happen to him because, they're good to that dog. They treat that dog good. They buy something to eat, and they're playing with that dog, or they're talking to him, and they're keeping them nearby, and so on, touching the dog, and so on. Something that the person does is what is attracting the dog. The dog has feelings. It's got certain basic elemental instincts. That's how you can call it. That's what you call animal instinct. Now, liking in human beings also work like that. It works through that basic elemental physical instinct that we have in our nature, as part of our nature. We like certain persons because of certain things that we like about them. But loving is so totally different. Think about loving. Loving is so totally different. When you talk about love, you got to bring in God because God is love. 1 John 4:8. That's where we began when we first began our series. You cannot define love. You cannot even begin to understand love without understanding God. You've got to bring in God. You cannot learn love from movies. That's the last place you should go to understand love. You cannot understand love from novels and love stories, You cannot understand love from anywhere in this world. You cannot understand love, really. You really want to understand love, you got to go to God because God is love. He is the total embodiment of love. He embodies love. You can see love there.
Let's clap our hands. When you sing this, sing it like a prayer, all right? Really meaning it. I'm here to meet with you. Come and meet with me. I'm here yourself to me. As I wait, you make me strong. As I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and fill this place. Won't you come and fill this place? Everybody, let's clap our hands. I'm here to meet with you. Come and meet with me. I'm here to find you. Reveal yourself to me. As I wait, you make me strong. As I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and fill this place. As I wait, you make me strong. As I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and fill this place. Won't you come and fill this place? Oh Lord Jesus, come and fill this place, oh Lord. Oh, make your presence known to us. As I wait, you make me. Everybody, as I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and fill this place. Won't you come and fill this place? As I wait, you make me strong. As I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and as I wait, you make me strong. As I long, draw me to your arms. As I stand and sing your praise, you come and fill this place. Won't you come and fill this place? Lord, come and fill this place. Oh Lord, we thank you for you honor our prayer to come and fill this place and to make your presence known in our midst.